I promise you, once you try this recipe, you'll never look at rice the same way again. Okay, let's not get way ahead of ourselves. What rice am I talking about? It's not the delicious, fluffy basmati rice, but I mean the rice that we use to make risotto. I almost forgot to mention, you need to make sure that your stock, your vegetable stock, is boiled and set to simmer so it's nice and hot, ready for you to add in when the rice is ready. But for now, we saute the onions until they're nice, soft, and translucent. Then we add in our peas, which were boiled, and not to a point where they're shriveled and just look miserable. They still held the beautiful plum shape. Okay, here's a tip that will make or break your rice. Well, it could make or break your rice depending on your preferences, but I've found that the absolute worst thing you could have in a risotto is this massive piece of onion. So my advice to you is make sure your onions are very, very finely diced. Now, after we have cooked our peas for about 2 minutes, we saute more onions until they're soft, not brown, before we add in the rice to toast. You want the rice just to toast for you, so it might take about 2 minutes, but don't wait for it to start to brown before you add in the wine. And now stir and let that dissolve before you add in your vegetable stock, which should be hot. If you don't have, homemade vegetable stock like I didn't, you could just boil some hot water, add that to your rice with store-bought vegetable stock pot. I'm not very proud of this, but hey, honesty is the best policy. So yeah, just use what you've got. And oh yeah, do not throw away your Parmesan rinds, which is what I added onto this recipe. This will help yield much more creamier rice. Taste a bit of the stock from the rice just to make sure that it has enough salt, and if it doesn't, then add a bit more salt. But be careful, because once you add the cheese later on, it will be a bit more salty. Add a little full of water or stock after the first half has been absorbed, and let that cook on high heat for 20 minutes. And this is what it should look like. The rice is not mushy, which is what you want, because it's still going to go through the final stages of cooking in the oven. Now add in your Parmigiano Reggiano, or Parmesan if you don't have, Parmigiano Reggiano. You can also substitute that with grana padano. I already made some bolognese sauce, but if you don't have that, I have a recipe for that on my page, so just check that out. So add in the bolognese sauce to the rice, give that a good mix. I always like to, well, let's be honest, exaggerate a bit on the black pepper in the bolognese sauce. But if you don't want to add extra black pepper, freshly ground preferably, then you don't need to add that. And now we move on to the layering. Just make sure that the baking dish that you use has been coated with some butter and natural breadcrumbs. And now we'll move to the fun part. Well, fun part for some people. We start off by layering the rice mixture, and after that we'll top it off with peas. And that is followed by your grated cheese and then the mozzarella. Please do not forget the mozzarella, because this just brings everything together. And then we're going to continue with the layering until all the ingredients are assembled. Oh, probably shouldn't have said assembled. Assembled sounds so formal. Just add all the ingredients the same way until you finally get to the very top, which is my favorite. Well, at least, when it comes to the scooping part. Oh, so good. And now on to our final layer, which will be topped with breadcrumbs and little knobs of butter to be baked in the oven for about 20 minutes at 220 degrees. And you're done. Sartu tastes the best in my opinion when it's fresh out the oven. So cheesy and hot, and oh guys, just make this already, will you? And come back again. Thank you. Bye.